Hello, and welcome to The Vision. I'm your host, Kwan Warfield. The goal of this show is to go beyond the stats and the talking points, the debates, and actually get a clear vision of what America is and could be. People used to have manifest destiny or the American dream, things worth traveling for, moving your family across the globe for, things fighting for, things dying for. A idea of what the world could be, of a better place. And I feel like in today's world, we don't have that. We are reminded of the past and we are drudging through the present, but people don't tend to have a clear vision of what the future could be, a place to store their hopes, a place to strive for. So I hope in this show, we can discuss what that could be. What is our manifest destiny? What is our vision as today's Americans? So first, I want to start off with a story coming out of Texas. If you have ever heard of Jeff Younger, he's a man whose ex-wife is looking to trans their young boy. And recently, the Supreme Court in Texas has allowed for the mother to take the son to California so she can forcibly trans their child. And this is of course, a very disgusting story. This woman is clearly unwell mentally and clearly pushing this sick, evil thing. And the heart really goes out for Jeff Younger because he's just a dad who's trying to do the best for his son, but clearly the courts are usually favored towards the woman's side and any kind of divorce. And his son is being taken from him and pretty soon, maybe, hopefully not, forcibly transed. And we actually have video here. When this first started happening, he actually asked his son, "Hey, why do you believe that you are a girl?" And the son explains that the mom told him he was. The mom is a pediatrician. She's clearly using their son as a political pawn to help boost her transing kids' business. Of course, very, 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 very sick. But yeah, the son pretty much admits on video that it's the mom pushing him into this scenario. Let's play it.
I'm a girl.
Who told you you were a girl?
Mommy.
When did she tell you you were a girl?
'Cause I love girls.
Oh, I see. So mommy told you you were a girl?
Uh-huh.
Was divorced a few years ago. When my child hit his third birthday, and this happened during the divorce, hit his third birthday, he started telling me that he was a girl. And I immediately pulled out my video and videotaped him and asked him, "Why do you think you're a girl?" You can see this video at SaveJames.com. It's the first time I heard about this.
Okay.
What happened was all of his authority figures, right? His mom, his sisters, his older sisters, his teacher, the policeman at school, the librarian, the principals, the lunch lady, all of his authority figures were telling him he was a girl, and I was the only one. And me and his priest were the only one telling him that he was a boy. And he really just didn't believe me.
So there you have it. Very awful situation, but you have a father amidst everybody in his son's life trying to convince his son that he's a girl. From as young as 3 years old, you have these sick people trying to force this young boy to believe that he is a woman. And I think it's easy to start off with the trans issue, of course, that this mom is, of course, very, very sick for wanting to do this. And the parent and, the school and lunch lady and all the people involved who are trying to force this kid to trans himself. It's all very sick. But I think it goes beyond just the trans issue. I think, as Dad says, it all started when him and his wife started to get divorced. And I think as conservatives, we overlook the cause of issues and kind of go towards the symptoms. And I think Michael Knowles talked about this a lot, and he made really good points about this. It's what's happening now with the trans issue, with all this other stuff with the left. It didn't come out of thin air. This little boy's transition issue with his mom, this didn't come out of nowhere. This came out of a divorce, of a husband and a wife separating, and a husband losing control over his household and over his family. And it's unfortunate that we live in a society that makes divorces pretty easy, that actually supports divorces in a lot of cases, that is more than happy to put down fathers and uplift mothers to kind of help them win it in a majority of divorce cases. And so I think when you come down to it, it's the trans issue is a secondary issue. Of course, it's terrible, awful. Hopefully it doesn't happen. But it all starts with the home, with the family. I think the chief political building block is the family. And I think a lot of people think it's the individual. It's just not. It's not how this works. And so what we have here is the father who's losing control of his family, who has lost his wife, who's losing his son because the courts once again have favored with the mom. And I think it's important for us to ask ourselves, why is this all happening? And I think if you want to go far back enough, we can talk about the sexual revolution and talk about feminism back in the day in the 60s. And what we find is that the family is no longer the building block of this culture, and everything else has gone downhill because of it. And I think this is true. I think even for most conservatives, we have just become these pro-capitalist, do what you want kind of people, these kind of libertarians. If you want to cut your penis off and you want to inject hormones into your butt, as long as you're 18, that's fine. Oh, if you want to marry that person, that's fine. Oh, divorce, whatever, that's fine. Do your own thing. It's be your own person. And we have lost the value of, no, men and women are different. No, marriage is between a man and a woman. No, you should not get divorced. Divorce should be a very hard process. We should not take marriage lightly at all. And so a lot of conservatives have kind of fallen on all those points. A lot of us don't want to look as if we're bigoted or something, or as if we're homophobic. We don't want to be looked at as rude. But the family is the important building block of this country, and that starts with a man and a woman. Men and women are different. Men and women are complementary to each other. Men and women are important for child rearing. This idea that you can get divorced or exchange or have two moms, two dads, be a throuple, and the kids are uninvolved, it's just untrue. Clearly, by this situation where this man has lost control of his son, and the courts and society have forced his son to be in this little transgender box, and are probably going to forever change his body through chemicals and through other means. Marriage starts with a man and a woman, and a man must have a leadership role in his household. And unfortunately, we have gotten to a point in our society where that's no longer the case, where divorce is okay all the time. And that allows us to get into situations where these children are raised in these less than ideal situations, and are now not able to put into these schools where they're at 8 hours a day and get told whatever kind of nonsense for hours on end. We're now principals. We're now lunch ladies. We're now people who are not at all involved in the home are raising children and not their parents. And to me, that's indicative of our want to be liked and our want to be separate from the issue. We will talk all day long about the trans kids issue, but we won't talk about gay marriage. We won't talk about the divorce rate. We won't talk about the family. And I think that is more important. I think if we can come at these problems from the source, the household, then we will see way more results than if we just go straight for the trans issue. What we should be striving to have is an intact family. When we talk about what the future should look like, it should be a man and a woman with their child. With the man taking a leadership role in the household, taking care of his family, having some authority with his family. We shouldn't be letting these kids be told what to do by their school and by everybody else but the dad. It shouldn't be a world where we are letting anybody, we just allowing everybody to do whatever they want whenever. It shouldn't be a world where, oh yeah, divorce rates are high, but who cares? Where marriage is just this commodity, the thing where you snoop your sweet thing for like a couple of years and then you leave. We have a responsibility to ourselves and to society. If you want a better place to live, if you want a better country, if you want a better atmosphere, it starts with the family. And again, This all started with the sexual revolution. This idea that we can go around having sex with anybody we want to, and that it's all going to be okay. That we can go impregnate all the women we wanted to and be okay. That that we can abandon all these kids. That the government can take care of all these kids for us. It's going to all be fine. No, we must take control of our children, of our responsibilities, and take care of our families. The building blocks of this country, the building blocks of society, the building blocks of politics is the family. It's not the individual. It is the family. And the sooner we realize that, and the sooner we start going towards that, the better things will be. The trans issue cannot exist without a broken family, without government intervention. The gay issue cannot exist without a broken family. And if we have this understanding, if the vision of the future actually holds the idea of a intact family, then we will be successful. We wouldn't have people cutting off their genitals, injecting themselves full of drugs, joining thruples, and doing all this wacky, weird sex stuff. We wouldn't have this huge pornography issue if we were so family focused. And thankfully, luckily, one of the states actually has done their part here. Louisiana has put in new laws that require a government ID to access porn online. This is a good step. Porn, I think, should be completely banned for everybody in America, of course. I think there should be laws like this in every state for all adults, that you should not be able to watch pornography at all. Pornography is one of the greatest sicknesses to ever strike this country. And I think it should be illegal. People say, oh, it's free speech. No, it's not. Watching two people denigrate themselves online for money is not free speech. I don't care what anybody says. And at least with this, though, at least with the ID thing, it's a step. Saying that if you are a child, at bare minimum, if you are under 18, bare minimum, that you should not be watching pornography is a great start. And I think what Louisiana is doing, fantastic. I think they just do it everywhere. Simple, just put up your ID. And I think what they said is that the website doesn't have access to it. It's just a secondary government site. I don't like government involvement in most things, but this is a great use of government power. I think as conservatives, we struggle to understand that there is a good use of government power, that we are not the party of small government. We are the party of useful government when necessary, which is totally fine. Saying that, hey, government has a role in society to protect people. And I think particularly right here in this situation, they do have a role to protect young people from this degenerate smuck that's being peddled by the media nowadays. That's on every social media app that is being pushed to children. As young, I know people who have watched pornography since they're 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old. And I think it's one of the biggest problems nowadays is that men and women are seeing each other as these sexual objects. Again, we can go back to the sexual revolution. Is that we are just these sexual objects to be had fun with, and then move on. That we can have all these different interactions, and there not be any consequences. And I think that contributes to the divorce rate. I think that this all contributes to this interpersonal issue and all these weird sex things that are happening in our society. That people's brains are so degraded by this smuck online, oftentimes at such a young age, that we are living in this weird dystopian sexual era that is destroying our society. And this is also why I can't really get behind Andrew Tate. I think he's right about a lot of things, but he is clearly in this capitalistic sexual freedom kind of mindset, which has made him a ton of money. And he's done a lot of degenerate things with that money. And I guess he can buy a couple more Bugattis, but at what cost? Yeah, he says some really good things about manlyhood in other kind of ways, and he makes good points about the left and how the government is controlling us. That's totally fine. But then he misses the whole point of how sex is controlling us, about how pornography is controlling us. And I think we as society, we don't think about that. I think we take pornography addictions as a joke sometimes, and it's not this idea that pornography is changing how we view each other is a really, really big deal. And I think when we have stable homes that can take care of this issue is only when we'll be free of it. If you are in a household where like mom and daddy are fighting, mom and daddy are in divorce, mom and daddy are separated, or you live with just your mom, whatever, and you are letting other people learn how to raise you in certain atmospheres, and you are being left alone with all the technology, and parents aren't really like taking care of their children, is when you finally kind of find all this sickness, and you've got all these kids who are just being completely misled and completely absorbed into these weird sexual fantasies. Not to mention, we now have parents who are pushing on their children, taking their kids to drag queen story hour and these drag shows and these pride parades with these men's butt cheeks hanging out. We have become a society of degenerates, and we are raising children who are degenerates. And I think that if we ever want to have a serious future, we need to rebuild the family. And that's honestly the answer for most things. War, we talk about any other topic, of economics, politics. It all starts with the family. And I'm repeating it multiple times. I'm saying it over and over again, and I keep coming back to it. And that's because it's true. We can talk about these temporary issues. We can start doing small things like Louisiana did, and start making policy that influences culture instead of letting culture always influence policy. But at the end of the day, we need to start taking responsibility for our families and spreading that throughout our culture. Making laws that make divorce harder to do. Making laws that really make it important to understand how important marriage is. Right now, in society, we don't know what marriage is. Some people say it's between a man and a woman. Some people say that it's between two girls or two guys or three people, or if you want to have it between a dog or whatever, what have you. There are people who are maps, people who are who think you should marry children. If we can't even come to an understanding of what marriage is, then we can't fix any other problem. If we don't even know what marriage is, we can't even define marriage. If we can't even define what a man and a woman is, then we have no hope of fixing this pornography issue. We have no hope of fixing this transing kids issue. It's all hopeless. It's all hopeless. What I want is a society in the future where we're able to maintain our marriages again, where the marriage divorce rates are not above 50%. Where way over 50% of marriages stay together and raise their kids and love their children, take care of their children. I want a society where we're not right now. We're at a society where we just let the government take over everything. Where you go snip some lady in a hotel room, she gets pregnant, she either aborts it or gives it gives it to the government to take care of. That's kind of what we're heading for. We're heading for where most pregnancies end up with either A, aborted, killed, destroyed, or B, in some government camp being fed whatever nonsense that the government wants to do that day. And that's not a vision I think that we actually want society, and I think we should fix that. What I want is a society where, again, full of families, taking care of their children, where single mothers aren't really a thing anymore because the fathers stay, where orphans are only orphans because the parents died, not because mommy didn't want the kid. Where abortion clinics are gone because people take sex and love seriously. Because people understand that sex is for marriage. Because people wait to have sex with their husbands and their wives. People are like, oh, the abortion's awful and terrible. Yes, it's awful and terrible. But part of the situation is because we think it's okay to be having sex with anybody we want. We have these kids out here having sex with Tommy and Tony and Lawrence after school. We have people hanging out condoms left, right, and center, but won't talk about abstinence. We have this idea that abstinence is this outlandish, unrealistic goal. I envision a future where love is important again. Where love means something. Where marriage means something. Where sex means something. I don't know. Maybe I'm just old-fashioned. Maybe, I don't know. Let me know what you think. Thank you for enjoying the first show of The Vision. I'm your host, Kwan Warfield. Have a nice day. God bless.